Good morning, everybody. Update 58 is going to be releasing with 3 brand new archetypes, and I'm very excited because I just can't wait to play them. And by I can't wait, I mean I haven't waited. I've been playing the last 3 Lemanias, spending like, I don't know, friggin' so many hours, like almost 100 hours put in with the last 3 Lemanias, testing, play testing, replay testing, retesting, to make sure, 1, I can get some good feedback to make sure everything comes out well, and 2, so I can have some good information for you for when they release. You see, these are going to be coming out very soon. You've got the new archetypes going to be releasing next week. That's right, 1 week from now. So today, I'm going to give you the quick and dirty on the archetypes if you don't know anything about them, so you can see some of the features, some of the abilities, and get excited for them. So, first, we got the Blightcaster right here. Blightcaster is a druid, although mine is a bit of a multi-class, but this is Blightcaster. I decided to go with the melee variant to test it out, but melee and spellcaster, it works incredibly well. If you want a full overview of all these classes, by the way, I have some videos that I will link below that gives you like a more detailed overview of what's in them. This is where we're going to be an update and very high-level overview of some of these features. So the Blightcaster gets access to the Blightcaster tree, which is all about negative damage, poison damage, and piercing damage. It's all about thorns, hives, swarms, and that sort of thing. The Death Druid, lots of necromancy involved as well. Couple of the major changes since previously, they get the spell-like abilities and other stuff, but now, instead of getting Poison Bypass in the Tier 5, they get it in Tier 4, with this ability Poison of the Hydra, which makes your poison spell an AoE spell now that strips poison immunity. I use this while leveling as my melee druid. I leveled this character all the way through the game on Lemania. That's how much fun I was having. And this character, super powerful, because as a melee druid, when you go into the druid forms, you can get a imbue for either acid or poison damage, and the poison damage does more, but you have to deal with immunities. But I could use Poison of the Hydra to bypass immunities while still taking the entire Nature's Warrior tree and feeling very, very strong. So it's pretty neat. The Blightcaster has a lot of different options. It works well as a melee, as a wolf form. It works better as a caster, and I think that's where it's going to stay. I'm going to show you the forms here real quick. So to get started, we have the wolf forms. You have the Plague Wolf. Plague Wolf is all like, you know, decaying and dying, missing a whole bunch of skin. So it looks pretty cool, pretty rad. I'm very excited about this. Plague Wolf gaining, you know, just the poison imbues. Nothing too special. It's pretty much the same as regular wolf, but it looks a little bit different, has some slightly different spells. Moving into Blighted Wolf, which unfortunately the art was not in for this feature. Apparently the Blighted Wolf looks sick, pun intended. Blight Wolves also gain bonus hit points, which stacks with pretty much everything else, so they're very, very beefy and tanky. Then we have the Hive Keeper. This is one of the lesser forms. Plague or Blightcaster Druids get 2 lesser forms, the Hive Keeper and the Thornkin. However, Hive Keeper gets to turn into Hive Master. This form turning you literally into bees and super juicing your poison and acid spells, as well as giving you like evasion because you're now literally a living swarm. It is exceedingly cool looking, although the Azamar faceplate is really screwing with the visuals of this. But I love the way that this looks, and it's I'm very excited to play around with this. This is kind of like your DPS Caster Druid sort of deal. And then we have the Thornkin shape here, which both of them look the same. Apparently the visuals did not come together on this one, but the idea here is this is for your thorn and poison spells, which is a lot of your piercing damage. Speaking of which, you've got stuff like Thorn Bloom, which you can cast, which shoots out a bunch of thorns, as well as many other thorn spells, which are new piercing spells that deal piercing damage. Thorn Strike and Thorn Lance. I can't cast Thorn Lance for you, which is a very high damage spell. I can't cast it here because unfortunately it crashes the server. It's a bit of a bug, but that's going to be fixed later. So things you need to know. They do lots of piercing, acid, and poison damage. Outside of poison, piercing and acid is completely unresisted, making them very easy to level. This character is a fantastic leveler. As far as the endgame, it's probably going to hang back a little bit in terms of damage compared to where the regular caster druid is, but with that, it makes up for it in different types of utility and different spells, especially from the instant killing perspective. Additionally, when you're in the actual wolf form, you get a whole bunch of unique wolf spells that you don't normally get. So, for example, you get the Blighted Breath as opposed to Cold Breath, which causes like a blind effect as well as a damage over time. Where you basically cough out this like blighted, gas. You also get an ability. Do I have it here? This one, Jaws of Doom. Usually, you get Jaws of Ice, which is a freeze as a Winter Wolf. This one is Jaws of Doom, which is an instant kill. It's very cool, very powerful. And then up here, you have Blighted Charge, as opposed to Snow Slide, where you like slide through things and freeze people on a druid. This one, you slide through monsters and you blind them and make them helpless. However, it gives you imbue dice, so you get a lot more damage with this, a lot more single target damage focused, and it's pretty cool. I will have some builds coming out for this. I have a whole bunch of ideas. Pure Caster, a couple multi-classes in here. The build that I tried here with Melee Druid was a Favored Soul Monk Blightcaster, with the idea being that you can use one of the new abilities, the Thornblade, during the leveling process. Now, what is that? Thornblade is a new spell that they just added with this preview. It looks like this. It's a pretty cool looking weapon. But what matters is the Thornblade is just like Flame Blade for regular Druid, except it is a acid version of the Flame Blade. So this is a acid blade. It's a scimitar that scales off of your wisdom to hit and damage, but it uses purely acid damage. And it's very cool looking. I kind of love the way this feels. It made it very easy to level with, and they said that it's possible that maybe, much like the Flame Blade got a raid weapon, it could be possible somewhere down the line there might be a Thornblade in the future for DDO if this is something you want to use. Although that's not currently on the table, so again, that might be like a year from now. It might go into a raid somewhere, or 2 years, you never know. But still, very cool weapon. Made it a dream to level, and I had a lot of fun with it. Specifically why Monk and Favorite Soul here is because I wanted to try out using the Grandmaster Flowers tree for melee damage, as well as, since I was already taking one level of one class, I figured get a level of Favorite Soul to have access to Divine Will, since I'm wisdom-based, and tell you what, it worked pretty good. So overall, I think that Blightcaster is going to be working pretty well. I think you're going to be seeing a lot of good builds with Blightcaster, and I am very excited to play this character, because goddamn, the Blighted Wolf, like, it's just so fun to run around. You're fast, you're doing a bunch of damage. It reminds me very heavily of the Cold Druid, like the Winter Wolf. But again, it has its own feel, it has its own flavor. So very excited to see this one. And I know the casters are already going to be good, whether it's the Hive Master or the Thorn Knight. You can't really go wrong with Blightcaster. So those are really the main changes that you saw. A lot of just like bug fixing and other things. Nothing super different. I'd say the biggest difference is Death Eater, which makes this you get your Charisma or your Wisdom bonus as temporary hit points whenever you kill a monster. This used to stack up to 5 times. Now it stacks up to 3 times, with getting the 4th stack and the 5th stack later. So you will still get your 5 stacks at endgame. You just don't get them all right away, which was a little overpowered because you'd have somewhere between like 120 to 150 temporary hit points all the time at level 6, which is probably too good. But at endgame, having 500 temporary hit points isn't really that big of a deal, especially since it's tied to killing monsters. So giving this back at the higher levels is perfectly fine, and balanced just near the levels. It was a little unbalanced, so they kind of shifted some of that out. Although, admittedly, if you want my opinion, this is still very unbalanced. But it's going in like this, so that's very exciting. Next up, we have the Acolyte of the Skin, which is the new Warlock archetype. So, Acolyte of the Skin here. It is pretty cool. I'm going to go over it kind of now that everything actually functions. So you'll be able to see all of the different abilities here, how the character works, and what it is supposed to do. Right now on the preview, only the human animations work, but apparently it's all going to be working by the time this releases, so you'll be able to actually see that when you get in-game. Important note about the Acolyte of the Skin. I'm going to go over this on a high level. I'll talk about my opinions about it afterwards. We're just going to quickly go over some of the main features. First, you get a unique Eldritch Blast called the Beam, so your character actually shoots out a beam as you attack. So it kind of like looks like this. So you like shoot a beam out as it goes through the air and deals damage. It's pretty cool. I don't like it that much. It penetrates, so it hits all monsters in a line. It has its value and it has its place. If you're somebody who likes staying back in combat, it's not too bad. I just don't like staying back in combat, so I don't personally like the beam. When I played it, I used mostly chain, although I did beam for a while just to get a feel for how much I disliked the beam. Now, when it comes to the actual new features, a couple things you need to know about Acolyte of the Skin. First, they only get one patron, which is the True Patron Fiend. So because you only get Fiend, you're only able to pick up on the fire damage here. So as a result, you got to make sure you love fire damage if you want to go into this. Additionally, instead of getting their Eldritch Blast damage from levels, they actually get it from these feats called Pact Attunements that you get for leveling up as a Warlock. The benefit of this is if you're playing as a part Warlock, you can actually take these feats. And I have a build I'm going to display to you at the end of this video that will showcase how you can use these in the future. But now we have the Acolyte of the Skin tree. So a couple things you should know. Number one, Acolyte of the Skin. The whole thing is a story about how your character is slowly becoming a demon. For those that don't know, the Acolyte of the Skin, that's what that is. That is your character turning into a demon. You basically form a pact, and you and a fiend become one. And so as your character transforms, the enhancements actually give you details about what's happening to your character in their journey as you go along, which is kind of cool and also kind of terrifying. The cores just give you a bunch of stats. There's a lot of spell power in the tree. So there's a lot of passives in here and a lot of pretty good stuff. I'm going to highlight on some of the bigger abilities that you get. First is the I-Beam effects, Fiendish Glare and Glare of the Pit. These are your kind of like Eldritch Blast abilities. Again, they're like an I-Beam. So I have Fiendish Glare, and when I press it, boom, my character shoots out beams out of their eyes, and there's also a little bit of demonic influence, like a visual on top of the character. You get to generate these little horns. This is what you get at level 3. It's quite good, and it's got like a pretty reasonable range here. However, we also happen to have the Glare of the Pit, which is the level 30 effect. When I press this, it's much more powerful, giving my character this like kind of, I don't know how to describe it, these like wings over top. You're also going to notice you hear this like kind of grumbling. Or like laughter. That's the demon within coming out, which is very cool. It means that, you know, it's your character sort of turning. As you're embracing the power, you kind of, you know, becoming more and more one with the demon. And then finally, you can go all out and use your Fiendish Symbiosis, where you press a button and you become a demon, getting a special stance, making noises, so you can hear that kind of grumbling in the background. Your character also has this like demon skin that overwrites whatever equipment you're wearing. You get the wings, the horns, and your Eldritch Blast is a attack. It's like a melee attack. Vision was stuck. It's like a melee attack, sorry, here, and it's super duper melee range. So it's not the greatest, I will say that. The visuals are amazing, but this does not have the absolute greatest effect in the game. It's a cool ability. It gives you like fire absorption, so you heal from fire damage. I tested this. This does work. It gives you a bunch of armor, some fortification, so it's kind of neat in that regard. But as I said, the melee attack is a little bit limiting. So, is this cool? Yes, this tree is unbelievably cool. The visuals are amazing. The feel of it is fantastic, and it combines very well with Soul Eater and Tainted Scholar. So I'm very excited for it to release. But the one caveat is the numbers on this are kind of low. It is very undertuned from where it needs to be. The damage is a lot lower than I would like to see. Basically, this tree has a lot of passives, and the passives are worse than Soul Eater and Tainted Scholar. Additionally, the Fiendish Symbiosis, it kind of looks kind of wonky, and the damage isn't great on that either. So I gave some feedback to the devs, which was basically just crank the numbers up. Literally just crank up some of the numbers here, crank up some of the numbers there, crank up some of the numbers there, and this will come out. So I'm very excited for the Fiendish Symbiosis, for the Acolyte of the Skin. I think it's going to be a good addition to DDO, really good introduction, and I love the way you can multi-class easily with this, with your Pact Attunement feats. So I think it's going to be pretty good overall. However, currently on the Mania, it's just worse than regular Warlock. So we'll see. I am hopeful. I think that SSG is going to make some changes because I think they were focusing on getting the stuff like physically functioning in the game before the numbers tuning. And I spent a long time playing around with this. As you know, you guys might know Warlock is like my favorite class. I played a lot of Warlock, and so I gave some good feedback. Hopefully they will take it, and we'll have ourselves some fun Warlock to be able to play in the future with this character, because as I said, I think it's really cool. I love the flavor of it. I love the I-beams, but there's just like a couple things that need to be fine-tuned with it, and if they can fix all of those things, I think Acolyte of the Skin is going to be amazing. But we'll find out patch day, and if it works, you'll get a video from me very soon about this one. And last but not least, we have the Dark Hunter Ranger, which is the special type of Dark Hunter that gives up on Arcane Archer tree to gain so much more in its place. A couple things you need to know about the Dark Hunter is that they gain medium armor proficiency. So medium armor proficiency is something they get, however they don't get evasion. The reason for this is they're kind of more of a tankier sort of ranger, which is pretty cool and has some synergy with some stuff in the tree that I will show you here in a little bit. Also, apparently they also get Accelerate for free, because the Dark Hunter Ranger actually gets to pick up the admixture spells as opposed to the regular cures, which is actually pretty cool, and I love it. It's really inexpensive, and it makes your admixtures so much better, and they give it to you for free, so huge fan of this one. And then, of course, the fact that the Dark Hunter gets Disable Device. So it is a ranger that is capable of searching and disabling traps, which is great. So for people that have asked me, oh, how do I do multi-class Ranger Rogue? This is the solution to that, the multi-class Ranger Rogue. Now, as I said before, the Dark Hunter tree is replacing Arcane Archer, so you can get Tempest, you can get the Deepwood Stalker. Where's Deepwood Stalker? Where'd it go? Oh yeah, there it is. You can get Tempest, you can get Deepwood Stalker, and you can get Dark Hunter, but Arcane Archer is left out. If you want to play Arcane Archer, you'll have to either use the Elf or Wood Elf or Sun Elf trees to be able to get access to that one. But otherwise, this is generally designed to be a melee-focused epic destiny. You get a wolf companion, which you might have noticed right behind me, the dark wolf right here, that happens to level with you. It's quite fun. It's pretty valuable. On top of that, you've also got several different traps, like the smoke trap and the snap trap. The smoke trap is basically just allowing you to sneak attack monsters, with the snap trap locking targets in place. They can also be quickened for no additional mana cost, so you can just whip them out super fast, making them pretty useful to use. This character also features a large amount of sneak attack and a death attack, which you can use from stealth to instantly kill a target. Now, the targeting is a little limited: vermin, elves, aberrations, animals, humanoids, and monstrous humanoids. Now, something I do want to clarify is that while it is a little limited in comparison to the rogue death attack, which hits everything, this is still a huge chunk of monsters. Yeah, you can't sneak attack or death attack undead or constructs or outsiders, but you can do everything else. And so this does hold up in a lot of different cases. I hope that they expand it. I've asked them to expand it just to the rest of the living things. You know, halflings, dwarves, gnomes, magical beasts. So I hope that they expand it outside of just that. So make it like all the things that you would imagine somebody would hunt. I think that'd be a little bit better. But again, we're going to have to wait and see about that one. Now, you also get a wolf companion that you can buff up alongside you. I did test this out. It is kind of complete garbage. It's great until about level 10, where the wolf is super good. After level 10, the monster health and quantity go up by a lot, and it really starts to slow down in how effective it is. However, there are a couple things that kind of hold it in place. You get an imbue here called Bleed the Weak that does bleeding damage. This works against everything. At least it does. I bug reported it, so I don't know if it's still going to work against everything, but as of least of right now, it works against everything. And you can get imbue dice here with Primal Energy, so give you a bunch of extra bleeding damage on hit. What's cool about this is that the Bleed the Weak works on your wolf, so if you have this turned on, it'll affect your wolf as well, which actually allowed my wolf to deal a tremendous amount of damage, again, right up until about a level 10, where it's still doing about 60 damage a hit, but the problem is once you get into like Ravenloft and some of those quests, the monsters all have about 400 health each, and you fight them in packs of 8, so 60 damage a hit from the wolf really isn't going to cut it nearly as much as you would like, although if you happen to be soloing on like normal and hard, it's still going to do pretty well. But there's a big change to Dark Hunter that they added that made it pretty exciting for me. They already had this effect, Lupine Instincts, where your Dark Wolf inherits your search and spot scores and can automatically find traps for you. That's really cool that your wolf will find traps, and it makes it valuable to want to put points into. However, they added this line: gain a primal bonus to search and disable device skills equal to your number of wilderness lore. This basically means you gain a +1 search and disable each level, which means your character, even if you're a dexterity-based Dark Hunter, will be able to find and disable every single trap. On top of that, they also get this ability right here, under Dark Armor, that says while wearing medium armor, you take 10%, or you get 10% exceptional bonus armor class and 50% less damage from traps. This makes you effectively trap immune, and you can run through every single trap in the game, blunder your way through, and take almost no damage. So, as a result, Dark Hunter is, in my opinion, going to be the absolute best way to learn how to trap in this game. It's super duper safe, and I will be putting out a Dark Hunter guide basically on how to get through this. I'll be doing a solo play guide with Dark Hunter that you can see where to do all the traps so you can practice and get to know yourself so you can kind of work your way through, because this is going to be one of the best trappers. It'll be amazing for hardcore. What if you don't like this tree? Death attack that's limited? I don't know. What if you just don't like a lot of the pieces in here and you're not interested? Well, here's what you can do with Dark Hunter. It still makes a sick Tempest Ranger, because Tempest Ranger and Deepwood Stalker never really cared about Arcane Archer, and the Dark Hunter gets a whole bunch of sneak attack dice automatically. So you can just play Tempest Ranger with more sneak attack dice and medium armor. You can also, if you don't like, or you want a multi-class, you know how you used to take 2 levels of Rogue to get evasion as well as disabling traps? Well, now you can pick classes that normally wouldn't get evasion, like Barbarian, take 2 levels of Dark Hunter, so instead of getting evasion, you get 2-weapon fighting, which means you can save a feat on Barbarian, get 2-weapon fighting, spend that feat on something else, and still have the ability to disable traps. Multi-classing with Dark Hunter for the ability to disable traps and get 2-weapon fighting, as opposed to Rogue for disabling traps and evasion, or Artificer with disabling traps and rune arms, is kind of an interesting decision, and I'm excited to see that SSG is going in this direction to adding more trapping characters. Overall, I think Dark Hunter is quite good. It is missing a couple pieces. There were a lot of bugs that I kind of found. Stuff like just some things not working. The dog wasn't finding things properly when it was supposed to. The death attack apparently didn't work against animals, so that was a fun thing to find. And then also there are some issues that not just myself, but others have pointed out, that a lot of things in Tempest Ranger don't work with light or medium armor. So Elaborate Parry Amazing ability, one of the reasons why you play Tempest, doesn't work with medium armor. The Capstone, amazing, fantastic, doesn't work with medium armor. So if SSG does decide to make some of these things in these trees work with medium armor, they can fix the death attack so you can use it while moving, and they can fix some of the wolf bugs. Dare I say, Dark Hunter is going to be a fantastic tree, and I'm very much looking forward to trying it out, running around with it. It should be quite a lot of fun when we actually get the chance to play with it. Because it's strong, and it's just allowed me to cruise through the game. Again, same thing, I leveled this character. Level 20 here. Super fun, very easy leveling process. I kind of blitzed through everything because I took so little damage from traps. My character was super duper tanky, thanks to some of the bonuses in Dark Hunter, as well as the Dark Sight. On top of that, you also get the Stone Sue for extra physical resistance rating from Camouflage, which is such a bizarre effect and ability, but you can cast Camouflage Mask to give everybody in your party physical resistance rating, which is just a cool buff. Like, honestly, it's amazing. So, as I said, there's some cool stuff here. Really looking forward to the Dark Hunter. Now, I did say I was going to share with you a very cool build that you'll only be able to do in the next patch. So let me show that to you right now. This is a fun character that you can only do with these changes, and I'm very much looking forward to. It's Buff Bard, or Bard Favored Soul Warlock. You see, one of the problems with Buff Bard is that you're standing around a lot. Bards don't do a lot of damage when they're buffing things. If you're out here using your buffs, keeping people's damage up, your damage is like, okay, but you're kind of limited based on your melee attacks. You kind of got to get in and melee people. And honestly, it's very limited because they don't get cool critical threat range. But you can get it, but then you have to be a swashbuckler, but then you don't have AoE, which means if you want to freeze people or crowd control, you're kind of limited. And it can be a whole thing. However, this is Fire Buff, a Bard build that I'm going to be putting out this, not the second, but pretty soon after this goes live. So I don't have a build written out for you, but you can kind of hear me and listen out for a second. The idea, the Acolyte of the Skin Warlock with 2 levels gives me access to the Tainted Scholar tree for Chain. So I can blast out and do Chain. Now, I'm only 2 levels of Warlock, so while I might have some pack dice, my character damage kind of sucks. However, it doesn't. I'm actually able to take these feats, Lesser Pact Attunement, Greater Pact Attunement, and Ultimate Pact Attunement at level 6, 12, and 18, sort of like how you take the Monk upgrade feats for the stances. As a result, I have the full damage of a Warlock, even though my character only has 2 levels. Now, I don't have the full damage of all the abilities in Warlock, but I have the Eldritch Blast damage, allowing me to just kind of cruise through the game very easily at a very simple leveling pace. It also means I can scale my damage for the endgame with lots of spell power. Now, why did I want to do that? Again, it's because my character is limited. Usually when you play as a melee, you want to like freeze stuff and crowd control things, and it gets kind of annoying to try to balance like spell DCs and also your melee attacks and having all the stats you need to kind of do everything. With this character, I don't need to do that. I can actually focus entirely on evocation DCs, picking up evocation DCs out of the Spellsinger tree, and I'm going to be able to grab stuff like a Burst of Glacial Wrath to freeze things. I can get an item of freezing that makes my Eldritch Blast freeze, and I can bounce that freeze all over monsters, while the entire time still holding on to the War Chanter, picking up all of the effects that give me the Melodbality for all the increased double strike, double shot, the spell crit, percent damage, move speed, everything you'd want out of a buff bard, and the healing song over time, the spell song transfer, the reduced spell cost, as well as inspiration, melody, frolic. But we're not done. You'll notice I didn't just take bard. I also took Favored Soul. By having 6 levels of Favored Soul, this actually allows me to spend points in the Beacon of Hope and get access to the Close Wounds ability. Now, Close Wounds is a good heal for leveling, but it's not amazing for endgame. Or is it? You see, I have another ability out of Tainted Scholar that allows me to apply my Charisma bonus as temporary hit points whenever I cast a spell on somebody. So, whenever I cast Close Wounds, I heal for 200 or 100, or 81 or 92, and every time I heal, I'm also applying my temporary hit points of 52 to the target. So it's an extra 52 temporary hit points every single time I healed them. By the time this character gets to endgame, that's like 90 temporary hit points on top of whatever heal I used. That also includes Renewal. That also includes Cure Light Wounds Mass that I get from the Bard tree. This also includes Cure Critical Mass that I can pick up from Exalted Angel. With this character easily able to go up the Exalted Angel tree, grabbing the Red Dragon Breath, grabbing Holy Fireball, and then even just using Unyielding Sentinel with some of the shield feats, which I took because Bards gain shield proficiency, so I'm able to grab the shield mastery feat line here to give me some extra defense and some extra hit points. My character is tanky. I am a first life character with like whatever gear. I'm missing a whole bunch of slots. Level 20 first life character with over 100 physical resistance rating, 60 magical resistance rating at level 22. As a spellcaster, I have crazy buffs unbelievable, insane healing right now, and it's only going to get better as I get higher level. Once I get to level 30, my character is going to have access to Holy Fireball, so I can just decimate rooms on top of the Dragon Breath, and then I can just blast away whenever I need to on the back half. This character is super duper cool, and it is an absolute replacement for the previous buff bard I was running, which was an 18 bard, 1 favored soul, 1 fighter, I think Purple Dragon Knight as a melee. This character is, in my opinion, leaps and bounds ahead of that in terms of power, and it's free. Well, Favored Soul is not free, so you have to get Favored Soul. It's 2,500 favor. Go play the game at 2,500 favor, and then you can play this. I said free, but I just realized that Favored Soul is not free. Man, Favored Soul is so good, though. Oh, geez. Anyway, that's basically it. That's my idea. This is my build. It's really cool, and the only reason it works is because I can get all of the pack damage and the ultimate pact attunement and all this other stuff out of Warlock, specifically the new Acolyte of the Skin that you can't do that anywhere else. And it gives my character a whole plethora of tools, so I can just be like this wicked leveling spellcaster, easy leveling in heroics, easy leveling in epics, and then finally at endgame you'll be able to do just a good amount of ranged damage, and you can flip-flop your weapons for crowd control, for debuffing, for buffing, all sorts of nonsense, and I can't be more excited. So I'm very excited for these archetypes. I hope you are too. I'm looking forward to getting around, really getting the chance to dig deep when these go live, and I will get some builds out for you the second I can. But not before. So thank you for watching. Hope you had a fantastic time. If you like what you saw, make sure you follow the channel so you get to see the builds that I'm going to put out when they're done. And that's all I have. Thank you, bye-bye, and drive safe, everybody.